Hello everyone, Mr. Very here, and today I want to talk about America's drug policy versus Portugal's drug policy. Now, here in America, we still have a war on drugs, and it really is so counterproductive. We're spending so much money in police, and we are funding private prisons, and the United States houses 25% of the world's prison population, for those of you who didn't know that. And we are arresting people for simple possession, and that's just ridiculous. Now, it's making anyone from a simple user, let's say someone goes out to the club one night, wants to have a good time, has a couple drinks with their friends, they're partying it up and whatnot, and then someone comes up to him and goes, "Hey, do you want to do some ecstasy?" And they go, "Sure, can I buy some?" And the guy goes, "Yeah, sure." So they buy the ecstasy and they take some. And then on their way home, they get pulled over and the cops search the car, and let's say they were smoking weed in the car too. They get criminal drug paraphernalia, which is a violation in New York State. They would get a Class A misdemeanor for having the MDMA or ecstasy, and they would also get a violation for the marijuana. And all of that will show up on your record, and you immediately become a criminal. I mean, a Class A misdemeanor is just under a felony. It's literally the thing right under a felony. So it's pretty serious. Now, in Portugal, if the cops were to pull you over and they smelt marijuana in the car, they might have you do a sobriety test, and even if you consent to a search and they found a gram of MDMA, they wouldn't take it from you because you're allowed to have up to a gram of MDMA for personal use in Portugal because they decriminalized all drugs in 2001. Now, the whole point of this video is showing what the decriminalization of drugs in 2001 in Portugal has done up until now, and what the war on drugs in America has done for us. Now, I'm a personal victim of the war on drugs in America. Um, I was caught with 4 different substances, which is 4 Class A misdemeanors. And I was caught, and they charged me with resisting arrest, which I did not do. The door was open, and well, the cop opened the door, and then I said, "Am I being detained?" He wouldn't answer me. And I asked it again, "Am I being detained?" Once again, no answer. So I went to close my door, and then he grabbed me by the arm, pulled me out, and I immediately did this and said, "I'm not resisting, I'm not resisting, I'm not resisting." And then the other 4 officers started screaming, stop resisting, And one put a knee to my back, and they dragged me across the pavement in shorts and scarred up my leg. And then 3 cops got on top of me, and I'm 160 pounds, and I had no weapons on me. Not to mention, I was high as hell at the time. Um, and then I spent 4 days withdrawing in jail and in a medical isolation until I could get released. Um, and now I'm on probation, and I'm 6 months in. Is this how we should treat our addicts? Really? I don't think it's a criminal problem. Addiction is a mental illness. It's a disease. Drug addiction is in the DSM. For me, it's opiate addiction. But you you can be addicted to anything and not just drugs. But anyways, getting off topic. Let's stay on topic here. Um so prohibition has never worked. Okay? We tried it with alcohol and what happened? The bootleggers got fucking rich. They got very rich and people were still drinking. So the United States had to legalize it because they were realizing, well, shit, all the criminals are making the money. We're not making the money. What do we do? Legalize it and tax the shit out of it. And right now, all illegal drugs are being sold on the black market. And who's profiting from that? Drug dealers. And, anywhere from low level to high level drug dealers. But they're the ones making money, and it's tax free and it's invisible money. No, it goes through hands, people don't even know it exists. Whereas if we were to legalize, and I believe in legalization of all drugs, and heavily regulate and tax, I believe we would see dramatic decreases in addiction, in use. Um, because in Portugal, in their first year of decriminalization, they saw an increase in use of everything across the board. But then they saw a very, very steady decline. And now their rates of addiction and use are lower than ours in the States. And they continue to go down. And when they do find someone who has a problem, they don't turn them into a criminal, they rehabilitate them. And I was reading an article earlier where it said, once they see someone go into a rehab 2 to 3 times, and then they never come back because they realize that it's just a vicious cycle that's going to ruin their life. But they're not a criminal. They still have job opportunities. They don't have fees to pay. Um, you know. Whereas for me, I now have 6 Class A misdemeanors, one of which is for heroin, which looks great on job applications, and 2 of the Class A misdemeanors I didn't even commit, which was resisting arrest and obstruction of governmental justice in the second degree. Which, if you look that up, that has a very broad definition, so they basically just threw that on there to screw me. But, and it makes more sense to rehabilitate addicts than to put them in jail or put them on probation. If you throw them in jail, what good is that going to do for them? You're basically punishing them for having a mental illness. I, I mean, would we grab someone who has schizophrenia or bipolar or depression or anxiety off the streets and say, "Oh, you're breaking the law because you have a mental illness. Time to go to prison, buddy." You're like that wouldn't happen. So why is it happening to addicts? They're sick. They are sick individuals. They're not criminals. They're sick. Now, let me just say a disclaimer. If you steal, if you hurt people, if you are fucking people over and doing other illegal things while you are an addict, I do believe you should be punished for that to the full extent of the law. However, if you are supporting your habit on your own, then I don't see the problem, other than the fact that you need help and you need to be rehabilitated. But jail is not rehabilitation. And that is going to make, with someone with depression and anxiety, jail is just going to make that, it's going to exacerbate that so much. Um, and the last part I wanted to talk about was we don't have many needle exchange programs in the in New York at least. I don't know about the whole US, to be honest. Um, so hepatitis C is very, very prevalent here. Um, I actually have hepatitis C, unfortunately. Um, and between and I will link some of my sources below for a lot of what I've said. But in the US, between 50 to 80% of people who use a drug intravenously will contract hepatitis C. Between 50 and 80%. And 38% of people in the United States with hepatitis C got it from doing drugs intravenously. And they are also the largest group at risk. Now, in Portugal, they have needle exchange programs so that, they're not sharing needles and they don't have to go buy them and feel stigmatized by buying them at the store. Being around coworkers and stuff. It just doesn't look good. Um, so overall, Portugal really has us beat. I mean, we are still putting people in, like I said, we're putting people in jail because they have a substance on them. So we're telling people what they can and cannot put into their body. That's like, oh, you have a tomato on you and you have an orange. All right, sir. Yeah, we're going to have to confiscate those, even though you paid for them and you're going to jail. Makes absolutely no sense. Anyways, main point is Portugal's drug policy with full decriminalization has worked phenomenally. They've seen huge decreases. And of course, there's going to be the slight increase at first, like there was. But overall, the problem is getting better, and they're devoting more resources to rehabilitation. Now, if we took the same exact approach in the United States, and not even legalized, which is what I want, but I'll take it a step back. We'll just go with decriminalize. If we decriminalized everything and started setting up rehabilitation centers and needle exchange programs with the revenue that we currently have on drug task on the like for the DEA, I believe that we would see a huge decrease in use and addiction within 10 years like Portugal. Well, that about sums up this video, and yeah, please like this video if you enjoyed it. Leave me any comments if you disagree, or if you agree, or if you would just like to discuss something. And subscribe to my channel if you enjoy the content I produce and would like to see more of it. Thanks for watching, guys.